Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's finally back. It's been a long old off season, that's for sure, but yes, it is time for the NFL season to start back up. That's right, American football's back, baby, and we here at CookieCast will be covering all the games in a roundabout way for the rest of the season. Fantastic. We have a special guest already, one of many guests to come this season, but week one, guest one, tick. Stay tuned for what we think is going to happen in this week's games, some changes in the off season, and everything else you could possibly want to get you ready for the new NFL season. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave reviews where you can leave reviews. Obviously, if you've got an NFL fan in your life, do consider sending this podcast their way, because I think they'd enjoy it. That's just my opinion, but I think they would enjoy it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out.
So, how do we normally do this? Because it's normally a case of you normally open up with which one of us did last week. But
so this time of year, I would normally open with ba 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 ba.
That wonderful noise. For those of you unaware, obviously ESPN's wonderful coverage of the NFL has an incredible song attached to it, and their fantasy app adopts the same song when opening the draft, as we experienced earlier this week. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 7 months, give or take, since last season's Super Bowl, where the Kansas City Chiefs made it back-to-back Super Bowl successes against the San Francisco 49ers in Las Vegas. It's been a long 7 months, but we are back to cover the ins, outs, ups and downs of the National Football League. For those of you listening, obviously you've only heard my voice and my illustrious colleague, Mr. Andrew Cook's voice, but we are not alone. We are joined by Getting Over, the football podcast, various BS casts from the past, podcast royalty, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. How are we, sir?
That's very kind of you to say. I feel slightly underdressed for the occasion now you've described me as such, but I'm secretly wearing robes from like the chest down. You just can't see it on YouTube.
It's fine. It's still pre-season. Because the season hasn't started yet, there's no need for a dress code or robes or crowns, scepters, thrones, etc., etc. But yes, another NFL season is fast approaching over the horizon. And what better way to celebrate than by the CookieCast podcast lot getting back in the studio, virtual as that may be, to go through the happenings of the off-season, bring you our season-long Super Bowl picks, season-long MVP picks, and much more importantly, our Week 1 individual game picks. I suppose we should open with what have you boys done with the 7-month void that was created by the lack of American football? Obviously, for those that listen to the football podcast, myself and Mr. Woodmansey would have just fully ensconced ourselves in the round-shaped ball. What about yourself, Mr. Cook? What did you replace the void with?
Well, as is tradition in my house, and unfortunately fell by the wayside for a couple of years, myself and the stats mistress this off season were able to pick up where we left off a couple of years ago by watching all seasons of the league back to back, which fills several weeks, which is just an absolute delight. And then just mostly staring at a lot of walls, just, waiting, just sitting, waiting, just wondering. I spend a lot of time wondering, what is Marshawn Lynch doing right at this moment in time? How's Gronk getting on?
Well, Marshawn went a bit sort of crazy is probably not the right word to use, because obviously he was already pretty far gone as it was, but he turned his hand to, like, I don't know if he legit try to become an actor, because obviously he did the sort of the cameo stuff in the league, and then he did a bit on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And did you ever get around to watching that improv show that was on Netflix, where was it that you could choose what storyline it went via by sort of pushing like left or right on your remote? I think that had Will Arnett in it.
Yeah,
because he was in one of the episodes of that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did an episode of that. I think he's done a series of like game appearances. I have a feeling he was in a Call of Duty or something at one point. I think he was sort of heading down that TV presenter kind of route. I know he did something at the Super Bowl, which was just him walking around insulting 49ers fans. That just seemed to be all he was there for. Just walking around casinos, and the moment he saw a 49ers fan, he'd be like, they made a TV show out of that. Obviously, he had a little incident with the authorities at one point. Remember, children, drinking and driving is not the thing to be done. But yeah, we all enjoyed Tom Brady's roast. We get to look forward to him stepping into the booth this season. Look forward to his. I think everybody's expecting Tony Romo plus, and I'm not convinced that's what we're gonna get. I think you can't knock his. I was listening to what was a fantastic podcast that had Julian Edelman on, who was giving some real insight into like the stuff that you literally would never think of, but was super interesting. And he was saying like he will treat that job like he was, when he was in the NFL, he was the absolute top of the game. He will treat his other job, his new job, exactly the same. I've seen a couple of videos of him recently talking about this job going into the booth. Like certain aspects of Tom Brady's career, I am not convinced. But always good to keep an open mind, etc.
Absolutely. Well, we are not going at this blind. We do have some sort of comings and goings from the off season that have been dutifully provided by the infamous, at this point, stats mistress. She's done it again, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to say weaseled away. That is completely not the right thing. She's worked away behind the scenes, beavered away.
not Weasel,
away behind the scenes to get the information that we need to us in the fastest possible way. And it's been broken down into 3 manageable chunks for each of us to take a little go at right now. So, whoever has part 1, which I believe is you, Mr. Cook, to start us off with the some of the happenings in the off season.
Yeah. So, just to give credit where credit is due, as I said to these guys earlier, this was literally off the back of me giving a throwaway comment in the realms of, "You've sorted some stats for us, yeah?" And Stats Mistress was like, "Nothing's happened in the season. What stats would you like?" And I was like, "Off-season stats, clearly." That was the end of that conversation, and I went merrily about my day. We then went on to have a conversation where we were all like, "Yeah, nobody's got anything from the off-season. We're terrible podcasters." And that was also the end of that conversation. And then I'm like, what's this little email about not all, a big chunk of the ins and outs, sort of off season into the season. So massive shout out, big props, and a personal thank you from me to the Stats Mistress for, quite frankly, always coming through for us. So it is titled NFL Season Start Info. I have 2 of 4. First one is a small piece of information, which is key matchups. And this one says, the season kicks off with a thrilling rematch between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, who face off in the AFC Championship game last season. Another highly anticipated game is the first ever regular season game in Brazil. Green Bay Packers versus Philadelphia Eagles in Sao Paulo. A small side note to that, which I will keep as vague as possible. I have seen a video from a player talking about going to Brazil and maybe expressing some wishes to not do that and the reasons behind it. So that's certainly interesting. And then for me, I have the quarterback watch, like neighborhood watch for quarterbacks. So what I've got is the week 1 quarterback power rankings are, no surprises, tip top of the list, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes continues.
Whoa. That's not Kirk Cousins, isn't it?
No.
Oh, sorry, no, I got myself confused there because,
looking at this, I don't see his name, which is odd. But yes, Kansas City Chief Mahomes continues to dominate with his exceptional playmaking abilities. And Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, known for his powerful arm and mobility, Allen remains a top contender. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens, Jackson's athleticism and dual threat capability keep him among the elite. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals, despite past injuries, Burrow's precision and poise make him stand out. CJ Stroud, Houston Texans, the young star has quickly risen with his impressive downfield accuracy and confidence. Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers, after back-to-back NFC champion appearances, Purdy is gaining recognition. Jordan Love, Green Bay Packers, Love's strong finish last season and high expectations place him in the top 10. The last 2 are bolded out. Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams. Stafford's experience and consistency keep him competitive. There's one tucked in here. Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. Hurts' versatility and leadership are key assets for the Eagles. And finally, folded out is Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets. Despite his age and recent injury, Rodgers' legacy and skills secure his spot. I think there was a bit missing off there about being completely back in that, but yeah, that wasn't missing.
Isn't he going into the season with some sort of like beef jerky for an Achilles tendon though?
I thought you were going to say, isn't he going into the season with some beef with other team members? Because there's that video that's emerged of a small tussle in practice.
He'll be fine. He'll have used his super regenerative. Oh my god, I can't even say it. Super regenerative body, seeing as he has no vaccinations in him from a few years ago. He'll be fine.
Stuart, you fully well know that man was immunised against the COVID disease. He told us all himself, and why would he lie?
The quarterback rankings are a bit. I mean, was there a single name on there that surprised to see? Stu, however, might be able to keep you a little bit more up to date with some back office changes.
I mean, I am feeling a little bit victimised in the sense of I've been given the job to tell you which teams have effectively changed their head coaches after I'm still annoyed about my own round ball team's head coach change from weeks ago. But yeah, as I said, it's my job to deliver the coaching changes for this time around, and numerous position changes have happened. The following 8 teams have all got new head coaches going into the new season. So we'll start with the Atlanta Falcons, who have now got Raheem Morris at the helm. The Las Vegas Raiders have appointed Antonio Pierce. My Los Angeles Chargers have got Jim Harbaugh in charge. The New England Patriots have gone with Jared Mayo. I believe Andy's Seattle Seahawks have gone with Mike McDonald. The Tennessee Titans are now led by Brian Callahan. The Washington Commanders now have Dan Quinn at the reins. And finally, the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales is now the gaffer. And that's it. It's yours, Paul.
Yes, indeed. So, that's all the head honchos that have got new faces in old places, or yeah, we'll go with that. But I'm now in charge of the notable player movements that have taken place in the off season. So here's the top 10 notable player movements in the NFL for the 2024 season. Notable excellent wide receiver Stephon Diggs has moved from the Buffalo Bills to the Houston Texans. Can't imagine there being any sort of issues if he doesn't get the ball there, because he's such a nice guy. Keenan Allen has moved from the aforementioned Stuart Woodmansey's Los Angeles Chargers to the Chicago Bears. Big one. The rushing king himself, Derrick Henry, has joined the Baltimore Ravens from the Tennessee Titans. Other running back news, Josh Jacobs has switched from Las Vegas to the Green Bay Packers. He has replaced Aaron Jones, who left the Green Bay Packers to go to the Minnesota Vikings, so moved within the division. DeAndre Swift moved from being part of a bit of a backfield committee in Philadelphia to become probably the number one guy for the Chicago Bears. Calvin Ridley has left the Jacksonville Jaguars and joined up with the Tennessee Titans. Gabe Davis has made the move from Buffalo to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Marquise Hollywood Brown has gone from Arizona to join up with the reigning defending Kansas City Chiefs. And finally, Trent Brown has joined the Cincinnati Bengals from the New England Patriots. That's the top 10 or the notable player movements that have been provided for us.
A couple of those Jaguar moves seem to be bolstering that team quite nicely. I think you're coming in off an off season, and I think it's that thing with like busy lives. It's hard to keep up with stuff in the off season, and within the first few weeks, you start to get a better picture of teams. But there are always teams where they went off with a hot hand. Are they going to come back with a hot hand? You've got teams that go off not great, but build in the off season and come back with what's on paper a good looking team. The Jaguars have been building for years at this point, and they were certainly last season looking like a proper sort of contender. So coming in with those big player moves, who knows what we might see from them this season.
Absolutely. That's the sort of the ins and outs and ups and downs of what's happened in the off season. So we'll now move into our personal picks for the upcoming season. So we'll do this each week. Each new guest that we get on, we'll go through. We'll ask them who they think will be contesting the Super Bowl. We will ask them who they think wins the Super Bowl, and the person that they think will be the Super Bowl MVP. And then we're also going to ask who they believe will be the regular season MVP. So that's all the information you need to know. We're going to take a short break to compose ourselves, get all that information out of here, down into the book, and then we'll go through our week 1 picks for each of the 16 games. But until then, join us after this quick break. And just like that, the break is indeed over and we are back. So, we're going to go into our season-long predictions. So, to start off with, we need to know who everyone thinks is going to be the 2 teams that will make up the Super Bowl, the big dance. I have mine written in the book, but I believe it would be remiss of us to not go to our esteemed guest for their Super Bowl pick first up. So, Mr. Woodmansey, who have you got as your NFC entrant into the big dance?
Well, seeing as I knew you'd absolutely rinse me on this, I'm still not necessarily au fait with the which one's which, although obviously I do know all the separate teams. So this is where, did you ask for the NFC ones first?
Yes, please.
Whichever way around it is. Is it the Chiefs, that one?
No, that's the AFC.
Oh well, spoiler. So I'll go 49ers then.
So you're going for a complete rematch of last season's Super Bowl.
Yep, I realise that is highly uninspiring, but the way that those 2 teams have been over the last couple of years, I'm not sure that there's anybody that's going to break through that just yet. So I'm going with a repeat.
Fair enough. And of the 2, who do you feel would win the game?
This time around, I'm going 49ers.
Any particular reason?
There's the third time the charm. The is that the saying?
Yeah, I guess. Who would you put down as the game's MVP?
The person who is the superstar of that particular team. So not the quarterback. He's already writing it. The CMC.
I think it makes the most sense from that perspective. I don't know why, but I'm still not convinced by Purdy. I think there's a lot of people in the NFL sphere that are still not convinced by him. I think that there seems to be the general consensus that if they don't do it this season, this is the last chance they're going to get to do it with him on his rookie deal. Because after this season, they either need to sort of say, yes, he's clearly the guy. We will throw support behind him and give him the big money contract, or they need to cut bait with him and try and then find the new quarterback of the future. But even if he is the guy, I still think it's more of the system and he fits within the system than he's the guy that they build the system around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely.
So, Stuart's gone for the San Francisco 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs, but for the San Francisco 49ers to get the win this time with Christian McCaffrey, CMC himself, to be the game's MVP. Andrew, who have you got as your NFC Super Bowl entrant?
It's one of those things. I think Stu's pick is just lazy. I think it's uninspired. I think it's a poor choice. So let me show you how it's properly done. So it's the San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. This is where we're coming in here. And it was one of those when the moment Stu started speaking, I was like, damn it. I wish I could have gone first. And I fully agree. If we had about 9 hours, I could take you through a very long conspiracy theory involving the NBA. But we don't. So what I'll say is this. What Stu said about the fact that there is absolutely nothing that's going to get through these two teams as it stands at the moment is bang on for whatever reason that might be. However, I am going the other way around. I don't see the Kansas City Chiefs not winning anytime soon. They are this generation's New England Patriots and will be for quite some time. This is like in your getting over terms, this would be the Roman Reigns title run. I don't see anything changing this for quite some time. I am happy to be wrong, but at this point in time, I am still kicking myself over last year's picks. So rather than doing I feel like I should pick someone different. No, I'm going with what I think is unfortunately going to be the outcome for a while.
So if you're picking the Chiefs to be the Roman Reigns, surely the whole thing that came up with Joe Burrow's dyeing his hair and looking exactly like Cody Rhodes only ends one way at this point.
Finish the story.
Exactly.
It is time for Joey Rhodes to finish the season without an injury. So
he has to start it without one first.
Well, yeah,
that would also be good.
So, same matchup, different winner. Do I even need to ask who you'd have down as the game's MVP?
Patrick Mahomes, MVP.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say Taylor Swift for a second there.
I was going to relay a fantastic T-shirt I saw yesterday. However, I feel it may get not only me, but this podcast cancelled immediately because a particular group of people would probably take us down quite quickly.
Yes, it would appear that that particular group of people is definitely not to be messed with, as they can, for want of a better phrase, F you up. Let's just leave it at that. So, 2 people in, 2 picks for the 49ers Chiefs. I don't have either of those 2 teams in my Super Bowl.
He's going to say Bills again, isn't he?
I've gone, coming out of the NFC,
the New York Jets versus
no, sadly, I believe that the main thing stopping the New York Jets from reaching the Super Bowl is that giant ego-shaped chasm that is Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's the man who gets them to the Super Bowl. I think he's the man who continues to keep them from the Super Bowl. I have gone for last season's losing NFC champion Detroit Lions. And I've gone there for them to take on, making it a first-time Super Bowl appearance on both sides of the ball against the Houston Texans. So this would be a guaranteed first-time Super Bowl winner on if mine was to come to fruition. The reason I've gone for that is I think Detroit are the healthiest they've ever been. Obviously, they got all the way to the NFC Championship game last season and arguably could and potentially should have won the game. And I think CJ Stroud was, I don't want to say Mahomes-esque with his debut performance last season, but I think it was at a level that showed that he can compete at that level with a guy of that caliber of talent. So I think it's possible that if the Texans get to 13 wins, I think it's possible that they could be in play for the number 1 seed. And if it has to go through Houston, I think there's a possibility that they could run the board, run the table, and go all the way to the big game. So yeah, so it's probably unlikely. If my Super Bowl picks are anything to go by, they both won't even make the postseason. But needless to say, it would be interesting. Like I say, I always pull for teams that have never done it before as well. So this would be nice because it would be nice to see a matchup between teams that have never got there before. Also, by the way, I don't think we've seen a repeat matchup in the Super Bowl the following season since 1995, when I think it was the Bills versus the Cowboys back-to-back season. So the odds are probably against you that it's the Chiefs and 49ers, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that way. I have gone for the Texans to win that game, and surprise, surprise, I've gone for CJ Stroud to be the game's MVP, if that would to be the case. So that's our first season-long Super Bowl picks in the books. Now it's just a case of going through who we think will be the regular season's MVP. I have gone for CJ Stroud for basically all the reasons what I've just said there. I think if he has as good a season he had last time, I think there's a possibility they get 13 or 14 wins. I think they could get the number 1 seed. If that's the case, I think he should be the absolute odds-on favourite for the MVP. So that's who I've gone for. Andy, who have you gone for the regular season league MVP selection?
I see the Bills having a very similar season to recent seasons, and I see them just being picked at the post, etc. But I do think that will make Josh Allen the season-long MVP, because I think there would be just something to push him into that final position.
I like it. I'm pretty sure that's who I had as the regular season MVP last year. Let's just double check. Oh no, I had Joe Burrow. That was a mistake. Yeah, that didn't work out That didn't work out for anybody. I see you've not gone for Aaron Rodgers.
I'd considered it. I was like, it was an inspired pick last year. So
He wasn't even MVP for what? 6 minutes? Good old beef jerky foot. That just leaves us with Stu. Stu, who is your choice for the regular season MVP?
I've split my bet from the Super Bowl predictions, so I've gone for Mahomes for this, just to cover a base.
I mean, he surely has to go in every season as the overwhelming favourite, just because of who he is, the cast of characters he has around him, and the stats that he's already put up on his CV going in. So it wouldn't surprise me. Of the 3 picks we've got so far, I would say that mine's probably the most, not the most out there, but I wouldn't be surprised if between us we've picked 1, 2, and 3 there. Maybe you could throw Lamar Jackson in there as a shout as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if each of those 3 is in the top 5 at the moment for the outright favourite as to be being the league MVP.
The only thing that's not taken account for in those predictions is that CMC is on the cover of Madden this year, so we should maybe change that now.
What to you want to change your pick because Madden curse and all that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sounds about right. So that's our season-long picks, which just means we've got week 1's picks. Obviously, I sent these out before the podcast today. Mr. Cook, Mr. Woodmansey sent me their selections for each of the 16 games. So we'll just go through those, see where we've got differences, see where we've got similarities, and we'll leave you be. So the season starts, as it always does, with the defending champions from last season opening at home. So this season it is a tasty, tasty game. There is a possibility that we could have, I say that there was a possibility that we could have had bookmark games last season. So it was the Kansas City Chiefs at home against the Detroit Lions, and we were 1 game away from getting that to open and close the season, which I don't think has ever happened before. Sadly, it can't happen this season, as it is 2 AFC teams going up against each other. But if you want a tasty game straight out of the bat, I don't think you can ask for much more than the Ravens at the Chiefs. Probably 2 of, if not the 2 big hitters in the AFC.
Just
the 2
chef's kiss on the
yeah. I think it's one of those ones where
you want to open the season right. You look or you go, that right there is the banger of the games to open with. Let's go with that one.
Pretty much. You're looking at probably 1 and 1A as the sort of early season favourites for the number 1 seed in the AFC, which does mean that whoever comes out of this with the win automatically has the tiebreaker over the other if they were to finish on the same number of games won. No one will be surprised to hear we have all gone for the home favourite here. We've all gone for the Chiefs to get the win. I don't think it's much of a surprise. Although, to be fair, last season they opened up at home and they did lose against the Lions. So stranger things have happened, but we have backed the Chiefs to get the win there. The second game of the season is the aforementioned first Brazil game in NFL history, where the Green Bay Packers will take on the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is our first game with a little bit of a difference of opinion. Andy and Stu have given, and I want to use this term loosely, home field advantage to the Philadelphia Eagles, whereas I think the Packers will start off where they left off last season and get the win here. There seems to be an awful lot of turmoil in the Eagles at the moment. Apparently, the head coach and the quarterback, if rumours are to be believed, not getting along with each other. Couple of player moves in and out. Obviously, Jason Kelsey's retired in the off season, so it's probably going to be a little bit of getting used to the new centre, the new way that works. So I won't be surprised if it takes the Eagles a couple of games to get into their rhythm. That's why I've gone with the Packers on that one. The regular slate of season games starts on Sunday with the 6 p.m. games, the first of which is the Steelers at the Falcons. We've all gone home field advantage for the Falcons there. Ditto when the Cardinals take on the Bills. We're all tipping up Buffalo. The Caleb Williams era starts in Chicago with a visit from the Tennessee Titans. And we've all given the home field advantage to the Bears there for my brother from another mother to start with a win in Chicago. The New England Patriots start their new era sans Brady or Belichick for the first time in 23 years, 24 years, with a trip to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Surprise, surprise, we've all taken the Bengals to get the win there. We've got an interdivisional matchup between the Texans and Colts. Myself and Andy have backed the Texans to get the win here. Stu has gone for the Colts to get the win. Next up, we've got the Jaguars travelling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. So obviously that's a big Florida rivalry. I've gone for the Jags, whereas Andy and Stu have both gone for the Finns to get the win there. We have another interdivisional matchup where the Panthers take on the Saints. No surprise, we've all backed the Saints. We have the Minnesota Vikings with their new quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, sadly out for the season. So stepping up to the plate is Sam Darnold, who should be the starting quarterback for the Vikings for the remainder of the season. I've gone for the Giants to get the win here, whereas Andy and Stu both think the Vikings will get the win. We have another interdivisional matchup where we see the Raiders taking on the Chargers. We're across the board backing Jim Harbaugh to start his Chargers reign with a win. We've got the Broncos taking on the Seahawks in a rematch of the Super Bowl from 2013. So another sweep, of course. We've all got the Seahawks to get the win there. It's the everyone's favourite start of the season Super Bowl favourite Dallas Cowboys travelling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. I've gone for the Browns to get the win. Andy and Stu have both gone for Cowboys. We have the Commanders at the Buccaneers, and we've all backed the Bucs. Then we have the late Sunday game is the Rams taking on the Lions in what should be a tasty little matchup. We've all gone for the Lions to get the win there. And the Monday Night Football sees California boy Aaron Rodgers returning with his New York Jets to the team he just can't seem to get over the hump with, the San Francisco 49ers. And we all have history repeating itself. We all think the 49ers get off to a winning start. So there you go. 16 games. None of us have picked the exact same way, so we should have a definitive winner one way or another. All that's left to do is for myself and Mr. Cook to do what's known on the podcast as the side bet. So, the way the side bet works is that we have both myself and Mr. Cook will pick 4 games that we see as a particular banker one way or the other. Once the game has been selected, it is removed from the slate. You can't select that game. So, how should we decide who gets to go first on this one?
I think it's last year's winner goes last, isn't it?
Well, let's have a look. So last season, we ended the side bet with you on 50 points, me on 54 points. So technically I won the side bet from last season. So as the winner, I will give you, sir, the chance to decide whether you want to go first or if you want to put me into that with the first choice.
I will take the first pick. With my first pick of the 2024-2025 NFL side bet. I select the Buffalo Bills to beat the Arizona Cardinals.
Solid choice. I like it. I like it a lot. However, I do like that you've left a team on here that I feel is probably the overwhelming favourite at home. So I will swoop right on in there and take the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the New England Patriots on opening day. And following that up, I'm going to go for the Atlanta Falcons to take down the still to find their feet Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers go at this with not one but two new quarterbacks in their house. They acquired Russell Wilson after his contract was ripped up with the Denver Broncos, and they acquired. I've lost his name. His name has just disappeared out of my head. The kid from Chicago. Nope, it's gone. Dual threat quarterback. Justin Fields, that's his name. Obviously, you'd probably think they'll be going with Russell Wilson as the starter, with Fields
They've already announced that.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Russ needs a couple of weeks to get, up to speed, get his feet under him, become, part of the steel curtain, etc., etc. So, Bengals and Falcons will be my first two selections. Your next two selections, please, Mr. Cook.
So, having had not the best time of it last season, I'm trying to zone in on what, weirdly enough, is sort of definitive picks. So I find that leads to not always going for, well, it's this team versus this team sort of thing. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints to hopefully beat a Carolina Panthers from last season and before. I can't do that one in all good conscience.
I cannot wait to find out who that is.
You. I'll know that one. I think I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to defeat the Washington Commanders.
The only thing that put me off choosing the Bucs is that Dan Quinn is a sneaky good hire as the Commanders head coach for me.
On that list of new coaches, the Harbaugh one inspired, and the Dan Quinn one, I was like, that's a good pickup.
Right, so that just leaves me my last two picks, and then we'll go back to Andy for his last pick. There is a couple of 50-50 games on there for me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to leave those alone.
Yeah.
I mean, the Texans could be a take, but they're away at the Colts. They've not got home field advantage. You'd like to think you probably take the teams with a home field advantage more often than not. Yeah, I'll go for the Lions to beat the Rams. That's a tough game, but you'd like to think in Detroit, Lions fans pretty loud. They should have enough to beat the Rams.
I was going to pick that game, but I didn't want to get too much into the quarterback versus quarterback needling, shall we say.
Well, exactly. And I'm going to take this. Probably won't go down very well, but I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to beat the Denver Broncos again in Seattle. Let's be honest, it's probably going to piss it down because when does it not rain in Seattle? And obviously, there's actual air that people can breathe there, as opposed to like when they're in Denver and there's bugger all for anyone to do other than just be fucking sky high and stuff like that. Which just leaves you, sir, to pick your selection as your final home banker or away banker, as it were.
I'm almost loath to ask this, but did you actually leave the San Francisco 49ers just swinging in the breeze there? Because I know how much you despise them, yet their matchup against the New York Jets is...
This is... I would go so far as to say this is a game that... It's a good thing it's on a Monday night, Tuesday morning for us, but I have zero interest in watching this game because Aaron Rodgers can take a swan dive off the end of whatever he wants. And everyone knows my opinion on the San Francisco 69 jobbies. So, yes, I would more than happy to leave this alone.
In that case, I will take the San Francisco 49ers to... I think decimate is not even enough of a word. I'd also like to add an additional... Aaron Rodgers will almost definitely sustain an injury in the first 4 minutes of this game.
I feel like that one could be Paul's first use of the words 40 burger in a podcast this season.
Ooh. Do you reckon it's going to be that bad?
Yeah, I don't have much hope for the Jets this year. It made me chuckle that I saw a stat this week that there are 4 teams in their division, but they're still ranked 5th for division titles because the Colts used to be in it and now aren't anymore, which was hilarious.
The hands down the greatest stat anyone has ever come out with. Just fantastic that they've been outwon in that division by a team that no longer plays.
Just the heads up, you're 5th out of a 4-team division. Oh. Congratulations. Just fantastic. I mean,
just absolutely brutal. So, just to clarify, Andy has the Buffalo Bills to beat the Arizona Cardinals, New Orleans Saints to beat the Carolina Panthers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Washington Commanders, the San Francisco 49ers to beat the New York Jets. I have the Bengals to beat the New England Patriots, the Falcons to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Lions to beat the Los Angeles Rams, and the Seahawks to beat the Denver Broncos. Of those 2, Stu, who do you feel has the more likelihood of getting 4 out of 4 correct?
Andy's.
This always seems to be the way this goes. Whenever we ask the guest this. And I don't know how often it comes
Unfortunately, the results never seem to go there.
It's your time this time, Andy. This is your season to get so far in front this time around.
My concern, and I wouldn't often sort of dress down anybody's picks or anything like that, but that Steelers game, my concern is how Russell Wilson went out of the Broncos. The fact that he was basically in a position where he was calling his own plays, and that's when they started winning. My not concern as such, but I do wonder whether there is some way that they can do some sort of amalgamation with the Steelers back office and his, I'm not going to say expertise, but I mean, he's been around a while. He knows the game.
Yes, that would be my concern also. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the first of what will be about 25 latest out podcasts for you this season. Thank you to Mr. Woodmansey for joining us to give his season-long guest picks. I'm sure he'll be back at some point during the course of the season. Obviously, as always, a big thank you to you, Mr. Cook, for being my co-conspirator and co-captain to take us through the muddy, choppy waters of the National Football League. If you're new around here, why not jump on over to the YouTube and throw a little subscribe to the channel, like, share, follow. You can find us on the socials as well. CookieCast. Have a look, see what you think. Join us again next week, where I'm sure we'll have another guest on to go through their season-long picks for the Super Bowl and the league MVP. We'll go through Week 1's games. We'll predict Week 2's games. We'll see who won the side bet. And we'll see if indeed Aaron Rodgers can make it through one whole game as a New York Jet. But until then, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the start of the NFL season, and we will see you next week. But for now, it's tatty bye.
So there you go. A very, very exciting start to the season. Some amazing games coming up. We'll be with you the whole way through the season, riding shotgun. And trying to bring you as much of the NFL news, games, all of the ins and outs as much as we can for the next many weeks. Thank you for being here for the first episode of this season. Thank you for being here with us. CookieCast crew members, you are all. To join up further with the CookieCast crew, you can like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. Drop in your picks. Who do you think's going to the Super Bowl this year? Let us know. Right, that's it. First one in the bag. Many more to come. But until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
This has been another episode of CookieCast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.